Now. Oh, perfect. Hi, everyone. Well, first, I want to quickly congratulate the team at Boost and Nest. And first, for inviting PortAventura here. I think we're extremely glad to be here. Thank you. And for the quality of the presentations today. I've been absolutely blown away. I mean, I was telling Bernardo earlier, really impressed. I mean, I worked in tech day to day. We work with AI. We work with MR. We work with Vision Pros. But the presentations today have been absolutely blown away. So, very, very, very interesting. So today we're here, basically. My name is Andreu Tobella, by the way. I'm the digital director at PortAventura World. Today, basically, the idea is that I give you an insight on how PortAventura innovates, how we lead, innovation in the entertainment world from both hotels, conference centers, and theme parks. Which I think can be quite, hopefully, fun as the last presentation of the day. Yeah? How many of you know about PortAventura, by the way? Raise your hands. Okay, so for those of you who don't know, PortAventura is the largest theme park and resort, actually, in the south of Europe, right? We're located about 100 kilometers from Barcelona in a place called Tarragona, but we don't have just theme parks. So we have 3 parks, we have 7 hotels inside, we have 3 hotels outside the park, and we have a conference center. So we actually cover a broad range of the whole tourism world, entertainment world. And it's a very complex scenario to sort of understand and innovate, right? The impact that PortAventura has in the region is actually quite large, right? So we generate about, indirectly, economically, we generate about 1.2 billion euros a year, which is about a quarter of what Tarragona, the area right below Barcelona, generates. So massive impact that we have in the region. Pretty much there's like 2 very large companies, and PortAventura is the largest one. And then from a job standpoint, we generate indirectly, again, about 24,000 jobs yearly, which again, generates a whole economy in and of itself. And as such, we have a responsibility as leaders in the region and in Catalonia and in the Southern Europe Park to innovate and lead, where the entertainment world leads. And something that normally people don't make the connection, I'm going to say, is the relationship that we have, for instance, for industries like Formula One, right? Formula One operates as what I call the innovation layer of the automotive industry. Why? They have CapEx, so they have money to spend. They can iterate very quickly the design, so they can learn quickly. They can gather feedback rapidly from customers, obviously the driver in that sense. And they also have access to a lot of technology, right? Oddly enough, most people will not think about theme parks as very innovative areas, if you will, but we have very similar characteristics. So we have CapEx, we invest a fair amount of money. A new attraction can cost between 25 and hundreds of millions. We have a lot of customers. In PortAventura, we have 5 million visitors a year. That means that we can launch products very quickly in the space, in the area we're at, and we can understand what works and what doesn't, again, very quickly. And then, obviously, historically, we haven't had a lot of access to technology, I'm going to say, because it's still an oldish industry, but some of us are starting to get access to this technology. Which is why, at PortAventura, we created a new unit about 2.5 years ago called Adventure Labs, right? And the whole game, the whole goal of this company is to create innovative products and services to launch at PortAventura and outside to create tangible value, right? And how do we do that? We have hired, basically, teams of people that will work in other industries. We have people from Google, we have people from Baidu that work with us on a day-to-day basis, full-time employees. This is not outsourced. This is building inside. We have programmers, we have designers that do themselves the work at PortAventura, right? And that has huge implications. That means that we can start to launch very quickly products using lean methodologies. I assume most of you are familiar with what lean methodologies mean, but it's the build, measure, learn cycle, right? So instead of spending years, 18 months to 2 years, let's say, to launch a new attraction, we're trying to do things in 3 months. We're trying to do things very, very rapidly so that we can get feedback quickly, iterate, and then be more successful, right? And that, to some extent, is changing the way that the whole PortAventura thinks, from the ground up, and obviously the culture across the organization, which is a big impact that these kind of teams can have in your organizations, right? The moment you start to import people with different culture, you start to see the benefits across the board, not just on the people that work in these units, right? So the question today is, so how Adventure Labs or other organizations, because obviously the whole point here is to share what we do so we can replicate if that works, how do we lead tangible innovation within PortAventura? And why do I say tangible innovation, right? Innovation in many other industries might mean give me money and I'll spend it. Then once I've spent it, everyone claps, but there's no measure behind it. We are private equity backed. Complete different world. Every single thing we do has a P&L. Every single thing we do has a financial impact. So what we do is not just launch products and services, it's actually launch mini ventures that will make money, that will make some sort of impact that can be measurable, so we can, build it and explore it. So how do we do that? We operate in 3 main areas normally. The first one is customer. We obviously have people right across the street. That's very helpful. So we talk to them on an ongoing basis. We go with them, we visit the park, and we understand what they want. Second, technology. This team that I was mentioning, we live and we operate with technologies 5 to 10 years ahead. So we're looking at Web3, we're looking at VR, we're looking at MR, we're looking obviously at blockchains, we're looking at Gen AI. I mean, that buzzword has been said quite a few times today. And industry, obviously, we're from the industry. So let's get quickly into what customer means, right? So it's been said many times today, and I'm actually glad that I'm very aligned with that, but 30% of our customers today are Gen Zs and Gen Alphas. That's a massive change. We now know that they value experiences over objects by far, right? So no one wants to buy anymore. I mean, no one. Not many people nowadays want to watch. They want to take a picture of Instagram and share it across, right? So everyone is asking for more volume of experiences, more moments that they can take a picture, that they can create, they can share, right? But not just that. Hyper-personalization. They don't just want one single experience for everyone. They want their own experience. That's the Gen Alpha, Gen Zs, right? So they want their own. It's all about themselves to some extent. And we know that 80% of them will be more likely to buy from a brand that personalizes. But that poses a challenge. How do you personalize a physical element? Something that has been built for the last 20 years, how do you customize it to the person, not just the person and the moment and the feeling they have at the moment, right? That's very, very different from the way we're operating. And that's been said quite a few times today, but I'm gonna go to the next level. They don't wanna just hyper-personalization. They actually wanna be part of the story. That's the Web 1, Web 2 movement that we're seeing in physical, right? They wanna be part of it. Not just that, actually. And, well, the reason why they wanna be part of is because, they're used to casual gaming nowadays, right? Casual gaming is now a $100 billion sector annually, right? It's going at about 10 to 15% CAGR, right? That's very unique. That's very different to 20, 30 years ago. So they expect a level of interaction that we've never seen, right? So compare that to our, when you're in the queues and you see a physical attrezzo, they touch things, but nothing happens, right? So we have to start upping our game. And the way that I see it is actually, our competitors nowadays are not all the parks, are not all the cities. Our competitors is Netflix, right? The other option of coming to the park is binge watching Game of Thrones on a Saturday. That's a completely different ballgame. I mean, that's for the whole tourism industry, by the way. It's not just us, right? So we're competing nowadays with spending the whole day playing a game. We're competing nowadays with spending the whole day watching a great movie or a great series and watching popcorn for about, 10 euros a month, right? It's crazy. So we have to adapt to this new world. But not just participating, they wanna co-create, right? The creator economy, right? Mr. Beast, the influencers, right? Everyone is making not a living, but everyone is making a lot of money nowadays, with sharing stories and being creators, which is absolutely great. I love the creator economy. But how do we embed a creator economy within our park, within the theme park industry, within the hotels, within conference centers? That's a massive challenge for us, right? Again, a physical ride. How do you make someone not just participate, but create the experience, the moment of a physical ride? So that's a big, big challenge. Good news, they don't want to do it alone. They want to do it with families, thankfully. That means that we're still relevant because they cannot be isolated in a room doing it yet. And last bit is the positive impact. We know that new generations, 40% of them will consider environmental impact of the companies before joining them. On that sense, PortAventura is great because we are B Corp already, but it's something worth mentioning. You have to communicate to them a lot more what you do on an environmental side for them to be engaged, to come to work with you, right? I think the tables have turned a bit. I mean, in my generation, we applied for a job. Nowadays, it's almost like you're begging for people to join. I mean, very, very different. So from a tech standpoint, again, this team looks at 5 to 10 years, right? I'm not going to go through all of them. I'm going to highlight a few. Gen AI, I mean, I was going to do a few sort of sentences, but I think you've heard enough today. For me, just one thing. It's the first time in history that we have scalable content, right? And personally, I'm very, very excited about it because that means we can create moments. Again, I'm linking it to the pain, right? We can create moments dynamically for people to enjoy at scale. Otherwise, it would be impossible. What we haven't touched much today, I think, is Web3. Web3 for us, even though it's still early in the days, we see it as a key component to hyper-personalization. The moment that wallets are available across apps and customers are able to share knowledge at will, we can then use this information in Web3 to customize the experience. So it's still not there, but I think within the next 5 to 10 years, we'll see it. What we see today, extremely powerful though, and you'll see tangible examples at the end of it, is the mixed reality bit. So VR is fully immersive. AR is just a layer on top of. MR is see-through, but you put assets, 3D assets around, right? So that is fundamentally changing our industry because you can create, again, at scale, experiences that are a mixture of physical elements and digital elements, and you'll see it later. And from an industry standpoint, very quickly, I mean, and you've seen it from what customers are asking, we have a few challenges. First and foremost is modularity. At the moment, parks operate as open and closed, and hotels tend to operate similarly, even though they can turn on and off rooms, right? The problem is we have to be more modular so that we can get more returns on our investments. So how do you turn on part of it? How do you turn on what customers want? How do we know what customers want today so that we can turn the right attractions, the right experiences for them, and we can optimize our costs? Big challenge. Second is what everyone is asking for, countless experiences, right? I mentioned it before, I'm mentioning it again. This is huge for us. How do we create at scale countless experiences? Very hard. You have the normal suspects, the big players in the industry will invest billions in one single, for instance, area, a theme area, right? We don't have this power, right? They will also, you have to also understand that, a big attraction will have about 800 to 1,000 people an hour throughput, right? So that's very a large attraction, let's say. But if you go to digital worlds that are a lot cheaper, like from a CapEx standpoint, a VR experience is a lot cheaper than a big attraction. But then you're dealing with throughputs of about 30, 40 an hour, right? So we have to 10x the digital experiences for them to make sense for us. And I think slowly and steadily we're actually getting there, right? The rest is more like the normal challenges around customer optimization, which we can touch upon later. So I want to focus a bit more and give you tangible examples on what are the findings and what we're doing from a guest experiences standpoint. But obviously, all the findings that I mentioned can be also applied, obviously, to operations, marketing, and sales. Yeah? So from a guest experience standpoint, in 2025, what we're going to do is focus on these two elements, on these two strategies. The first one, as I was saying, is hyper-personalization, right? So we're working very hard to be able to offer tailored planning, AI-based tailored planning, for customers when they arrive to the park. So ideally, we know what they are, we know what they want, we know who's coming, we know the characteristics of the team that is coming, of the group, of the family that's coming, and then we can offer on a dynamic basis the whole plan when they come to the park, right? That means that to some extent, we can start to optimize the movements across the park and be able to deliver more experiences for the day for our customers, right? From a real-time pricing standpoint, I want to make a point of technology here, right? So dynamic pricing is something that we've been talking about for ages. I mean, everyone who's in the industry will have doubled with it. especially if you're in hotels, right? And the beautiful thing here with technology is that, a concept that was here 10 years ago keeps evolving, and there is a moment that it makes sense, right? It happens the same with chatbots, which is the last point. I mean, who hasn't used a chatbot? Chatbots are like, 10, 15 years old? But how many people are frustrated with current chatbots, not LLMs, not ChatGPT-likes, right? At the moment, when you used to go to a chatbot, it was always like an if this, then that kind of experience, right? You would go there, you would ask a question, and it would be a decision tree. That is extremely frustrating from a customer standpoint. So the promise of having a chatbot that would really help us has been delayed for many years. But suddenly, here comes GenAI, here comes OpenAI, and delivers basically a mind-blowing product that can really and fundamentally transform that experience, that moment, and can offer a butler-like experience, a real butler-like experience for every single customer who is in a hotel, in a park, right? So these technologies, in a way, they keep evolving based on the tech that is available, and we as industries have to keep revisiting it so that we can apply it when the technology is ready. Yeah? And these are the two cases, especially for real-time pricing and chatbots. And you'll see an example that we launch at PortAventura later and the metrics behind it. From an immersive experience standpoint, as I was mentioning, we're looking at basically an animatronic, so bringing AI kind of experiences within the queues. And we're looking at especially MR as a way to enhance, rides so that we can customize the experience to everyone. And as an example of that specific one comes this idea. And hopefully you find that at least, I don't know if troubling, but interesting, right? So what we're working at the moment that we'll see if we can deliver, let's say, is the idea of you joining a ride, and you can have two options. One is just to join the normal ride, or you can use MR headsets. An MR headsets, in a nutshell, allows you to see through, but we overlay digital elements to the actual ride. And that means that with sound and with digital, you can then see complete different worlds within the same ride. And that means we can have different levels of thrill based on the person, right? Not just that, we are adding dimensions to the ride. So following the problems that I was mentioning before regarding CapEx, the moment that you start adding digital elements to the same ride, for cheap, you can double the experience for Gen Alphas and Gen Zs, right? So this is exactly aligned with, I think, where the industry should go. And from an experience standpoint, what's quite interesting is that suddenly one ride has it's been gamified, right? So you go to one ride once, you have a thrill, you try it again, you have a complete different experience, but then suddenly, if you are not scared, we can unlock for you another level of thrill. And if you're not scared, we can unlock for you another level of thrill. Suddenly, you start gamifying it, and you can have a team of teenagers going to the ride, because, I forgot to mention, obviously, the headsets have cameras to your eyes. So we can measure to some extent if you're scared, right? So suddenly, you start to have competitions between teams, between teens, on who is less scared and who got to what level in what ride. At least it's a concept worth thinking about. Whoever is in the hotel industry, there's very similar ideas for rooms, right? You can have experiences in rooms that are mixed reality as well, right? So again, we're bringing the gaming world to physical aspects, but not just that. You could have exactly the same ride, and this is kind of more like VR, so forget the VR element. Imagine that these parts are real, but I can be with my kid, 11 years old, he can be living that world, I can be living this world, in the same ride, at the same moment, right? That fundamentally transforms all the entertainment industry, physical entertainment industry, yeah? So I think it's a very interesting concept, and it's a lot more real than people think. So we'll see, hopefully we can work on it. Two practical cases, so they're more tangible, right? First one is what I was mentioning before. So last year, ChatGPT obviously came in 2023, 100 million in 2 months, absolutely mind-blowing, changed our lives, and all the rest. But from a tangible standpoint, what do we do? So last year, literally in January, we started to work on our version of what a chatbot was. And I'll show you some examples. And then Hysterian Boothill is an experience that is MR related. I am finishing. MR related, more than welcome to come and try it, and I'll show you some data. So very briefly, from a ChatGPT standpoint, our Paula, we build it internally. It's something that I would recommend if you have teams that are devs. It's actually not that hard to build your own version of ChatGPT for, obviously, your clients. It launched in April, and we have, on average, about 500 people. We've done more than 1 million messages, and overall, the rating is very high, 4.32 out of 5, and 75 positive feedback. So extremely good results. And just for under $200 a month. That was a surprise for me. I thought it was very expensive. It turns out it's not that expensive, and it's going down. So highly recommend, obviously, start using these instead of the old models, and you'll see, I think, there's a lot of benefits from it. From the mixed reality experience, as you can see, you see a few pictures. All of it, so the 3 here, are obviously Gen AI generated, but using generative AI meant that we saved about 20% in costs, and we could do it 30% quicker in delivery. So instead of taking about a year to do it, in 3-4 months, we managed to do the end-to-end experience and launch a complete brand new experience for our customers at the park, right? So that means, again, we can speed up very rapidly the delivery of digital goods thanks to Gen AI. So hopefully you find that interesting, and thank you.